Hi, my name's Mechagen. As a philosopher, my life's work, focused in science and technology, intends to enrich humanity by enhancing functionality. One of the ways I do that is by communicating the wisdom which emerges from my research and investigations through art. In each episode of your journey with me, we're going to visit some friends of mine, artists from around the world who are doing some cutting-edge stuff with their craft. You're going to hear their thoughts and perspectives about art. You're also going to find out about personal struggles I've faced, how I overcame them, and my revelations about what is state of the heart. So here we are, in front of sunny St Kilda Beach, in my hometown of Melbourne, Australia, apparently the world's most livable city. I love to come to the beach year-round to ponder. While I reflect on ideas, I watch the hypnotic waves, and it makes me think and wonder. When my father, Spartacus R., passed away in 2010, I was left with a void. He was a pillar of the black community in Brixton, London, England, and a world-class musician, author, and human rights activist. He was a genius, and I still miss our deep and meaningful conversations. Recently, I'd been pondering a few things I wish I could show him and talk with him about, such as, how do we define art? Where do art and technology meet? And what responsibility does the artist have to society? Let's go meet some artist friends and get their perspectives on these questions. First up, Alexander Mitchell.
Trying to define art is like trying to define a block of wood based on all the things you can carve into it. Trying to define art is the wrong way to look at art. Art is completely subjective, and the best way to define it with that in mind is just to see it as a platform of communication. Art is just really a subsection of communication. It's a category of communication, and artificially put a box around it and separated it from communication. So we're really trying to define something that's artificial when we try and define art. If I was trying to define art, or at least if I had to define art, or at least try to define art with that in mind, I would say that art is a form of communication that deals in inspiration. We're trying to communicate inspiration to each other, share inspiration, and share what it feels like when you're inspired, that sort of moment where you're like, whoa. Because you know that feeling when you see something and it's really inspiring? It feels like it's in your chest, and you hear, like when you hear music and you want to cry. That's, for me, what we're trying to express when we create art. It's sort of an unintellectual feeling of inspiration. And I guess if art was a subsection of communication, that's what the subsection of communication focuses on. You know, it goes back to what I was saying about communication. It's like some of the greatest technologies we've made in the last 100 years has been communication technology. Our ability to communicate with people all over the world has increased, and so too has our ability to express ourselves and to create art. I don't think artists have any responsibility. I mean, society can't hold an artist responsible for anything. But I think the function of an artist in society, like if an artist is to serve a really positive function, I would imagine it would be that the artist's function is to communicate culture and to communicate inspiration.
I arrive at my understanding about things through observation and a lot of experimentation, but I also think it's valuable to know what has been written and understood in the past literature. I read deeply and in a wide range of subjects to gain fascinating insights. Speaking of reading, let's visit another artist friend of mine, a poet named Soreti. Let's hear her perspective on art.
I define art as a process of creating from either thought or emotion or lived experience, often a relationship between all three and more. The art is a beautiful, beautiful way of communicating with one another. You're making art in every moment. It's such a privilege to be an artist because we can never stop going deeper into the world that we're in, and we don't go deeper often, even past just the basic layer of what we see and what we hear on a daily basis. And then the artist goes, okay, what does this mean? How can I go further into this? And it's really honoring the fact that we are alive and breathing, I feel. I like to think of it as we have a responsibility to each other as human beings. By virtue of that, yes, we have a responsibility to our society, but I want to think of it as responsibilities between one person to another person. An opportunity to engage the fact that you're in such a unique position with your society as an artist. You are the only role whose sole purpose it is to make people feel something and to make people think about the experience further than what they would originally have thought it to be. I see it as an opportunity to imagine further how we can create what we create. It's not something to be feared, nor something to create art for the sake of. I think it's really to ask yourself, how can I best create this message? How can I best tell this story? And what is available to me at that time? And I think technology offers us a new horizon of considering that opportunity.
Fascinating to hear different perspectives. I love to create art in traditional mediums also, not only digital, virtual reality and augmented reality. Today, I'm here at my grandmother's house, painting a canvas with acrylics. Until recently, I had some troubles with my health, especially my hands, and painting would have been very uncomfortable. At the start of 2017, I was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. It was a crippling blow to my career. I had just achieved a grueling new world record in music and had been getting into sculpture in a big way, but my body was always sore. My hands were painful. I was unable to use my hands for long because they felt like they were burning. My hands were on fire. The possibility of not being able to create my art with my hands, the prospect of being sick for the rest of my life was unacceptable. I determined to heal myself by putting my knowledge from my earlier career as a performance nutritionist to use. What I did, I call it the green drip. I put myself on a diet with only leafy green vegetables, plenty of herbs and spices, and healthy oils, meat and fat. I cut out all sugar and carbohydrates, except for watery fruits and honey. I took vitamins and minerals and healed myself. Part of my healing included deep breathing and visualizing myself in perfect health, accomplishing what I wish. The art world in 2018 is still a very oppressive, economic and idealistic place where the work of people of color is often ignored or devalued. The last thing I needed was to be too sick to fight for my voice to be heard, for my presence to be felt. Full speed ahead. I'm so glad to be able to create again. The messages in my art are very important. I believe in their wisdom and potential to make the world a better place. So here are my answers to the questions about art. They might seem startling at first, but I encourage you to follow the logic, the reasoning, to its ultimate conclusion. My definition of art is any communication which inspires constructive outcomes where they're needed the most. So-called art which does not meet these criteria is considered, logically speaking, noise, and therefore interference or pollution. The highest expression of a science is art. Art is the highest expression of a science. That is the technology of art, and where art and technology meet. With this understanding, the artist has great responsibility to the society. Thank you for joining me on this journey about artists, their workspaces, and philosophies. Join me next time for episode 2 in the series.